Hello everyone, Tara Lynn here, and today I'm doing a color palette dot along with the palette you see up in the corner called Golden Feathers. And color palette dot alongs are just a way for me and to encourage you to try some new and unexpected color combinations that you might not otherwise come across. So today I am using the Golden Feathers color combo. And for my background color, you can see I'm putting that on now. I'm using honey brown. So that'll give me my base and my background. Honey brown is just a really nice light golden brown. And then you'll see the color palette up in the corner. I am using Golden Straw, Vintage Pink, Purple Rain, Cherry Merlot, and Gingham Blue. And so that's what I'm going to play with today. When I do color palette dot alongs, I don't have a set agenda. I don't have a set pattern. I just kind of wing it. And so you can join me and just kind of wing it on your own. You can follow along step by step. I'll tell you what I'm doing. But feel free to just play. This is just an opportunity to try something new and try some new colors. So I'm going to finish getting my background color on here. I'm going to use a 16-arm stencil. I use the 16-arm stencil the most. I'm just cleaning up my edges a little bit here. My honey brown has seen better days. I've got some clumps. Ugh. All right. Got my background. I'm going to dry this real quick for a second. As you can see, I've got some of that wood showing through. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but since it's in patches, it kind of does. So second layer of background color. This time I can go real fast. Normally I like to use black for my backgrounds, but I do feel like the beauty of this color palette one of the reasons why I chose this picture in this photo in this color palette is because it's just got a real nice neutral background. So that's why I wanted to give this a try. This honey brown has got a nice suede-like leathery look. I love it. All right, so I've got my 16 arm stencil, and I'm just going to get this on here real quick, and then we'll get started with the design. And I'm just using a chalk pencil so I can easily erase it when we're finished. All right, there's my stencil. All right, ready to go. So let's get our paint out here. Again, the colors are Golden Straw, Vintage Pink, Purple Rain, Cherry Merlot, and Gingham Blue. All right, I am going to start with a large center dot. I'm going to use my 12 millimeter tool and that Gingham Blue. Sometimes with these larger dots, you have to adjust them just a smidge to make them perfectly round. I generally overthink this step, as usually by the end you don't notice, but here we go. So 12 millimeter center dot. Then I'm going to use my 1.5 millimeter stylus, and we're going to do a ring of 16 with the Cherry Merlot. So that was 1.5 millimeters, Cherry Merlot, ring of 16. I'm going to get my 2.5 millimeter tool, and we're going to do Purple Rain. Another ring of 16. These are going to be offset, so these go in between or centered in between the previous row. So these are in the spaces, not on the lines. Two and a half millimeters, Purple Rain. I'm going to go up to 3.5 millimeters. I'm going to do another offset ring with Vintage Pink. If you don't have 3.5 millimeters, you can probably fit 4 millimeters at this point. I'm going to use Vintage Pink. I'm going to do another offset ring of 16. So these go on the lines. And I'm going to do another ring of 16 with my 5 millimeter tool and the golden straw. These go in the spaces. Honestly, I'm really liking this simple pattern, so I think I'm going to stick with it and really just make this a mandala of rings of 16. And so I'm just going to continue with this pattern. I think where I'm going to give it a little pizzazz is on my top dots. I'm going to might incorporate a little gold and just give it a layer of top dots. Next, I'm going to use my 6 millimeter tool and Gingham blue. I'm going to do my next ring of 16. This goes on the lines. Next, 8mm cherry Merlot. This is a beautiful deep cherry color. I love this color. We're going to do a ring of 16 in the spaces. Since we're getting up close to the end, I'm going to embellish this ring and the next ring a little bit. For this, I'm going to do a dot and a swipe on each side. So I'm going to get my 3mm stylus or 3mm. I'm going to use my rod, but you can use the stylus. And I'm going to use Purple Rain. And I'm going to do all my center dots first with the rod, and then we're going to do swipes on each side. So 3mm center dots and then 3mm swipes. And do all my right swipes first and then go back and do my left swipes. And then next, I'm going to get a 10mm rod, and I'm going to use this vintage pink. I'm going to do another row of 16, offset. Missed one of these. So these go on the lines. All right, and then I'm going to follow the same pattern. I'm going to use my 3mm tool for a center dot. We're going to use yellow. I'm going to stir this up a smidge because my yellow is a little clumpy. All right, so I'm going to do a 3mm center dot and then swipes on each side. So I'm going to do the centers first. And then my 3mm stylus, we're going to swipe on each side. I'm going to try to make my swipes touch in the middle. I like the look of that for this design. If they don't touch, I can go back and use a small stylus and make that happen. Don't forget, with anything you're making, you can always fix it up or tweak it a little bit if it doesn't turn out exactly how you want the swipe to go. So like in this one, it doesn't quite touch. I'll go back with a small stylus when I'm finished with these. right, so I've got the swipes on there. Now I can go back with just a little, oh, and look what I did. Pro tip, don't stick your thumb in your paint. All right, I've just got a few little dots and boo-boos that I need to fix here. Let's see. So this is just where I stuck my thumb in that paint. I'm gonna fix that up a little bit with my background color. Got a couple random splatters that I just want to make disappear. Ah, there's the other one I was looking for. All right, I'm gonna have some fun with some smaller dots here. Let's see, I'm gonna get my 2mm tool and I'm gonna use Cherry Merlot. And so I'm gonna dip once and then I'm gonna find a Cherry Merlot dot and I'm gonna go dot, 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 dot. So a set of 6, we're gonna kind of walk the dots in sets of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Dip again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to fill in some of that space. Now up here around the edge, I'm going to bring some of the darker colors out as well. I'm going to use my 2mm stylus, and I'm going to go Purple Rain, and I'm going to do a little triangle that's going to fit in this little dip. So first I'm going to do the top part of the triangle, which is just one single dot, and I'm putting it in that little dip where we swiped. 2mm Purple Rain. We're going to turn this into a set of 3, but I'm going to put that top dot of that triangle right up in that little niche. Right, once you have those purple dots all the way around, then we're going to do 2 dots right below that. So dip and dot and dip and dot, so that we end up with a little set of 3. All right, next what I'm going to do is we're going to do some top dots. And so again, I'm going to mute for just a moment. I'm going to dry this off a little bit. When you do top dots, you definitely want your first layer of dots to be pretty dry. So you can pause this and come back to me. You can do top dots later on your own, but I'm going to go ahead and dry this a little bit, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. All right, now I'm not completely dry, but I've got enough of a film that I think I won't mess this up. So, all right, what I'm going to do here first, for my center dot, I'm going to get my 8mm tool and Purple Rain. And on top of this blue, I'm going to add an 8mm Purple Rain. This is squishing out a little funny, so bear with me. There we go. I need to fix that just a smidge. Again, like I said, this is why it's ideal to do it while it's dry, but I can kind of cheat it a little bit. There we go. All right, Purple Rain in the center. All right, while I've got my Purple Rain 2mm tool, Purple Rain, and on this first vintage pink ring, I'm going to add 2mm Purple Rain dots all the way around. Then I'm going to get 3.5mm and the vintage pink. And on top of the yellow, we're going to have a 3.5mm dot. If you don't have a 3.5mm tool, use a 3mm. We just want to make sure it's smaller than the dot beneath it. For this ring of blue, I'm going to add the golden straw, which is the yellow color, 4mm. I'm going to do 4.5mm and the gingham blue on top of the cherry Merlot. And then for some pop, I'm going to use gold. And I think because I'm using such a light palette, I'm going to use the champagne gold, which is a nice lighter shade of gold. This is just an embellishment color. So you don't have to use the same gold that I use. If you've got a different gold, you can totally use that. You can use white. You can use black. I don't know that black would go as well with this palette. If you've got Nouveau drops, you can use those. If you've got Bliss drops, you can use those. So it doesn't have to be the same. But I'm going to add the gold in the center. I'm going to do that last. And then around on these pink dots. So I'm going to get my 6mm tool. And this champagne gold, usually I don't stray too much from the color palette, but I just feel like this gold is going to give this the beautiful pop. And there's a little bit of shine in that photo that I took inspiration from. So I feel like it stays true to the Golden Feathers color palette here. And so what you're going to see me do is just dry this center a little bit so I can put my third top dot in the center, and then I'll be done. Again, it's always best to let it dry completely before doing top dots, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and try to smush one in here. And there we have it. So this is the Golden Feathers color palette. I really, really like this. Even though we've got some deep dark cherry Merlot and the bright pop of that blue, it's still a really nice neutral palette that I think would look good in any room or any space. So I really like this. I call this one a win. I would love to see your version. So if you created with me, you can share in our Facebook group. Look us up. It's called Dot Mandala Artists USA, and it's free to join. I would love for you to join there and share your work with us. You can share things that you create with me, but also things that you create on your own. So I would love to see what you've made there. Whether or not you followed my design or you created your own design with this color palette, I absolutely would love to see it. If you find value in my content, please throw a thumbs up on this video and follow me on YouTube so you can get all of my free stuff. I do a lot of color palette workshops, and I love to share my passion for dot mandalas. And also throw me a like on Facebook. It helps small creators when you do that. So that means a lot to us. And I typically will do these color palette dot alongs every 2 weeks. So join me in a couple of weeks and we'll create something new. Thank you, everyone. Those who followed along live and those on the replay, I appreciate